From Software just dropped Elden Ring Night Rain, and let's just say, it's not what fans were expecting. This isn't DLC. This isn't a sequel. It's an online-only, roguelike, PvE extraction shooter with Battle Royale DNA, and it's igniting a firestorm in the Souls community. Fans are torn between curiosity and outrage. Some are calling it a brilliant new take on the formula. Others say it's a cynical rehash stuffed into a completely inappropriate genre. But what's really going on beneath the surface of this chaotic release? We spent hours playing Night Rain, and we're breaking down every major mechanic, the good, the bad, and why this might be From Software's most polarizing title yet. What is Night Rain exactly? At first glance, Night Rain looks like Elden Ring. You've got the same enemies, the same combat animations, and even the same architecture. But the moment you start playing, it becomes clear that this isn't a traditional Soulsborne experience. You're dropped into a randomized map alongside 2 other players. You must survive for 3 in-game days, looting gear, clearing zones, and taking down bosses until you face off against a final threat known as the Night Lord. Once the Night Lord is defeated, you extract, carrying over only passive upgrades to prepare for the next run. Everything else resets. Gear? Gone. Levels? Gone. Just you, your team, and whatever passive bonuses you've unlocked. There's no offline mode. No real single-player structure. The game assumes you're online and grouped. And if you're not, it punishes you for daring to try. A community divided. This shift in structure has left longtime fans reeling. From Software has always been known for its deep, solitary, meticulously designed worlds. Games like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring reward exploration, lore discovery, and deliberate combat. Night Rain, on the other hand, is faster, noisier, and more chaotic. It's about reacting quickly, coordinating with teammates, and rushing through zones before time runs out. A lot of the frustration comes from how the game recycles almost all of its content. Night Rain is, visually and mechanically, a remix of Elden Ring. The Round Table Hold appears again. Familiar enemies patrol the lands. And while FromSoft tries to explain this with a multiverse premise, suggesting this world is a distorted reflection of the lands between, it doesn't mask the reuse. For many players, this feels less like an original game and more like a mod or a repackaged mode. Making things worse, there's no voice chat or even a text-based communication system. You're forced to rely on a ping wheel, something barely functional in a game where split-second timing and coordination often mean life or death. If you're playing with randoms, you better pray they understand what's going on, because you can't explain it. How it plays, the experience of Night Rain. The moment-to-moment gameplay feels familiar if you've played Elden Ring. You still dodge roll, parry, cast spells, and fight massive creatures with sweeping attack patterns. The controls are tight. The weight of combat is satisfying. And that same risk-reward feeling of pushing just a little further before retreating is still present. Only now, it's wrapped in a structure that feels more like Escape from Tarkov or Hunt, Showdown. Each class you can pick has its own abilities and passives, and while there are only a few options at launch, mage, tank, duelist, and so on, they're decently distinct. The mage has access to powerful area spells and teleports. The duelist is quick, aggressive, and can execute a fiery whirlwind attack. These ultimates give combat a modern, hero shooter flair, which will either excite or horrify you depending on how you feel about games like Overwatch or Apex Legends. Exploration, however, takes a massive hit. Night Rain limits how long you can stay in a zone. Every in-game day has a countdown timer, forcing you to move quickly, clear the area, and prepare for a boss fight before you're automatically pushed forward. This completely undermines one of the most beloved aspects of FromSoft games: the ability to wander, observe, and immerse yourself in the world. Here, that world feels like it's chasing you out before you can get comfortable. Progression and replayability, or lack thereof. If the combat keeps you coming back, the progression might not. Night Rain is built around the roguelike structure, where you repeat runs and slowly improve through meta-progression. The problem is that this loop doesn't feel rewarding enough. Between matches, you unlock medallions, passive stat boosts that give you minor advantages like increased damage or extra healing. But these upgrades feel underwhelming. They don't dramatically change how you play or offer meaningful build diversity. There are no skill trees, no weapon mastery systems, and no ability to create hybrid builds. Everything resets except those few passives. It's a stripped-down system compared to Elden Ring's rich RPG mechanics, and the result is a feeling of shallowness. Loot is another weak point. Most of what you find is either irrelevant to your class or simply not exciting. It's not uncommon to spend a whole run picking up gear that your character can't even use. For a game that relies on loot-driven repetition, this kind of mismatch kills the thrill of discovery. Is it even playable solo? Technically, yes. Practically, no. Nightrain's bosses and encounters are designed with 3 players in mind. Many bosses split their attention across multiple targets or use mechanics that overwhelm solo players by sheer numbers. The AI scaling doesn't seem to adjust appropriately, which makes solo runs feel punishing in the worst ways. And with no reliable way to coordinate with strangers, even duo or trio queuing can feel like a gamble. The lack of voice chat or even emotes puts unnecessary strain on the player experience. From Software is known for minimalism in UI and systems, but when your entire game revolves around co-op, this becomes a major design flaw. The real issue, what ultimately makes Night Rain so controversial, isn't just the gameplay. It's the question of value. This is a premium-priced title built on reused assets, recycled environments, and familiar mechanics, yet it asks players to pay as if it were a full-fledged expansion or sequel. The core concept, Souls-like combat in a roguelike, multiplayer setting, isn't bad. In fact, it could have been brilliant, but the execution feels rushed. Instead of new worlds, we get old ones scrambled. Instead of new enemy types, we get copy-pasted mobs. And instead of progression systems that excite, we get tiny stat bumps and loot that doesn't matter. This makes Night Rain feel like a prototype that escaped the lab too early. It's trying to build something experimental on top of something sacred, and it's doing it in a way that feels more like a live service pitch than a true From Software experience. Final verdict. Night Rain is ambitious but broken, fun but frustrating. It's a fascinating glimpse into what From Software might do with multiplayer in the future. But in its current form, it's more proof of concept than polished product. For those who love co-op roguelikes, it might offer some short bursts of excitement, especially with friends. But if you came looking for another Elden Ring moment, something awe-inspiring, deeply immersive, and endlessly replayable, you're likely to walk away disappointed. Night Rain feels like a game caught between 2 worlds, the tight single-player discipline of Soulsborne games and the chaotic, loot-driven churn of modern multiplayer shooters. Right now, it doesn't fully satisfy either audience. But that's just one take. What do you think about Elden Ring, Night Rain? Is From Software breaking new ground, or just breaking trust? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're thinking about checking out the original Elden Ring or any other game without committing to a full-price purchase, don't forget, GameFly lets you rent and play before you decide. Hit the link in the description to start your free trial now. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. From AAA experiments to controversial launches, we cover everything that matters in gaming, right here on Waz Up Nerd Insider.